stages of denial, and the person in the stage of denial doesn't acknowledge that he is at a stage of dying. Because when once someone is in denial, he's just wondering, he cannot believe the reality that I am dying. And so Koba-Rose described this theory in a more efficient and effective way, that when person is dying, he is absolutely denied that I don't think I am dying. I don't think I am ready to die because I am not dying. I am not sick. So La Republique is in denial stage. And in doing so, it seeking ways to collaborate with a certain individuals. For example, when someone is dying, that particular individual will seek to apologize to a certain individuals and asking for forgiveness. And so La Republique, by declaring war in Ambazonian, their anger stage, their anger has boiled to a high level. And because it has boiled to the high level, they can't accept the reality. And so that is why I encourage our boys that negative feelings, those individuals that misconstrue the ideology and the philosophy of citizens of Ambazonian. Remember, we are fighting for corrupting system that has eaten deeply into the La Republique and has begun to expand into our own territory. And that is why we, the citizens of Ambazonia, is ready to fight and defend our territory and maintain the sovereignty of Ambazonia. And now, how does La Republique engage in the Koba-Rose theory of dying? Now they are in another stages of called bargaining. Bargaining, La Republique is asking that we should accept just a common federal state and they will allow us to do whatever we can. So they are now bargaining because they have finally acknowledged that we, the Ambazonians, are now moving with our sovereignty. And so because they can't accept the reality, they're beginning to bargain that just accept the federation. We are going to work things out so that federation will be the best system. No, we are not bargaining for, according to the Koba-Rose stages of dying. Because when a dying person reaches at a state of bargaining, he doesn't accept the reality, but he still believes that there is something they can do to avert from dying. So La Republique is in the bargaining stage. Say, well, let's just accept a federal system. A federation will allow you to decide what you want, and we will also be part of you. So we don't expect you to leave, and that is the Koba-Rose stages of bargaining. And this theory is more effectively if you analyze it and you relate it to La Republique. So La Republique is in these stages of bargaining that the people and the citizens of Ambazonia should just simply accept a federal system of government. Why do you expect us to accept a federal system of government? No, we don't need a federal system of government because you are a sovereignty. Your independence was declared by the United Nations in 1960. And in the subsequent year, 1961, the independence of Southern Cameroon was also declared. But the fact that we choose to cohabiting doesn't give La Republique a legality over the citizens of Southern Cameroon. And so because of this, and I saw the Koba-Rose theory of 5 stages of dying, it's more effectively if you plug into La Republique and the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. So Koba-Rose theory of dying is the most efficient and effective way. When you plug into those stages, you will realize that La Republique is going through those stages. It's going through those stages of dying. And because they are going through those stages of dying, they are now in the bargaining stage. And in the bargaining stage, they will ask for United Nations send representatives that we are doing effectively. We are working hard to ensure that we collaborate with the Anglophone speaking so that we can have a federal structure of government. But unfortunately, we disagree because our sovereignty, we are a sovereign nation. The fact that we choose to cohabiting with La Republique doesn't give La Republique an upper hand control of the citizens of Ambazonia. And now they move to the 4th stages called in depression. Koba-Rose believe that When the person, after bargaining and can be able to gain the acceptance, now they began to feel depressed. So La Republique is depressed. La Republique is depressed. Now they're asking for Russia, they're asking for China to borrow money to invest in the Southern Cameroon. So a person who is in the stages of depression, be careful, because that particular individual is committed to suicide. So it's a suicidal. When the person reaches at the stages of depression, so they are suicidal. So therefore, I am speaking that the federal citizens of Ambazonian, be careful of the suicide of La Republique in our southern territory. So you gotta watch, be careful, each individual, because a person that is in the stages of depression is in a suicide mission. So La Republique is in a suicide mission. And so they will use every available suicide, even though they are dying. They want to acknowledge that they are dying. Because they are in a process of dying, they can destroy every part of the world. And so people with suicide that have reached depression moment, only probably Xanax, or those who did psychiatry, those who are psychiatry will be able to provide one particular drug that will be capable to deal with the individual with depression. And that is why you see that poor are frequently in and out the hospital, because they are all in depression moods. And so we watch very careful, and those with depression. And so citizens of Ambazonian, so it is time we mobilize ourselves, because when La Republique is in a depression move, so be careful, because when a person is in suicide, you have to pay attention. You have to look for clue. You have to watch behavior, because behavior can signal you that the person is in depression move. So our citizens of Ambazonian, watch this very closely, because when La Republique is in depression mood, it is easy for them to bomb any area in our territory. And so that is why we have to pay close attention, monitor person with depression mood, and how their behavior, and be able to counteract those behavior, because even within their surrounding, you have within the ministerial level of La Republique, within the department of whatever, the terrorist defense department, they are in depressed mood. They think that there is a solution that can come, there will be an imaginary. So the people with depression, they have an imaginary mind. They believe internally that there is a special vision that can happen overnight and give them power. And so therefore, I am relate this with the people that are depressed. You have to pay particular attention to individuals that are depressed, or those who are in depressed mood. And so, since La Republique is in a depressed mood, so we have to take advantages, especially those in depressed mood, because the way of processing information can be very troublesome. And so, therefore, I am bringing this attention to the fellow citizens of Ambazonia. You all know that someone from the Bali, you know the phone of Bali, had just escaped. You know he was appointed some whatever they call, what is their position, whether it's a senator or whatever it is. He has just been abandoned that his position that was given to him. He's now in Germany. So I can assure you that those in depressed mood, they are in a position of committing suicide. So because they are in a position to commit suicide, we have to watch them very careful. So federal brothers and citizens of Ambazonia, we have reached a high level of our freedom. And so it is not a moment that we can allow it to. So we need to come together, and we need to finance our fellow brothers. We need to ensure that, and those who are trying to provide false information. So we have to be careful of those individuals, and especially those of the La Republique, that may have infiltrated us around. So we need to pay close attention to those individuals that are surrounding us, because they are constantly scanning through us. And those especially with depressive disorder, they are constantly scanning around us, ensure that what are we talking about? What are we doing? And that is why, especially in ground zero, they are constantly disguising. They are constantly dressed like That is why I love Cobra Rose stages of dying. I love Cobra Rose stages of dying. And so when they reach depressive mood, and that is why you will see how this behavior is this behavior of depressed individuals, especially those of La Republique. So what they are doing now is that La Republique is constantly dressed like people with mentally challenged. So when people are in a depressed mood, people in depressed mood, especially La Republique, and that is why they dress in a sarcastic way. They dress in a, what is the word? So those with depressed, that is why they dress and in a shabby way, or whatever. I don't know how the particular word I can put it. So La Republique is dressing very poorly, and they dress like someone with mentally challenged. The essence is to infiltrate our citizens that have fought for the total complete liberation of the citizens of the Southern Cameroon Ambazonian. So therefore, you have to be constantly watching those individuals that are depressed, especially within the high level of La Republique. And so we must work together to ensure that we eliminate La Republique out of our sovereignty. Our territory is a sovereign nation. United Nations was voted in 1961, recognizing the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. It was called the Southern Cameroon, former British trusted territory. And so because we cohabiting relationship is normal. Let's take, for example, like typically here in the state of Texas. You can meet a girl on the road and you agree to live together. That's what is called a cohabiting relationship. So Southern Cameroon has no legal document with La Republique. They're simply cohabiting. And so it has come to the moment that Southern Cameroon decided to evaluate the relationship between the people of Ambazonia and La Republique. And it became questionable. And so since it became questionable, now they start, let's evaluate this relationship. Just like a girl that you meet on the street here in the great state of Texas may decide, let us evaluate whether